Hello and welcome to Spectrum program, The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. It is a program that connects the people and the government. Of course, it is an interactive program where you can air your views and ask questions as well. My name is Rachel David White. Well, today on the program, we'll be taking a look at some of the stories that are trending today in Nigeria. But first, we'll head to the Supreme Court where they have announced that it will, on October 26th, deliver its judgment on the appeals filed by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party, LP, Peter Obi. And the appeals challenged the result of the February 25th election, which led to the victory of President Bola Tinubu. While the Director of Information of the Supreme Court, Dr. Festus Akande, confirmed the date yesterday. Both the PDP and the LP presented their cases before the Apex Court on Monday. However, the appeal of the Allied People's Movement, APM, and its presidential candidate, Chichi Ojei, was at least after they withdrew the appeal. Now, previously, the Presidential Election Petitions Court had dismissed the petitions of both parties on September 6, citing a lack of evidence. However, Obi and Atiku filed appeals challenging that decision. So, Thursday, we judgment. Moving away from that, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has delisted names of the All Progressives Congress APC governorship candidate Sinibre Silva from the list of candidates for November 11th election in Bayelsa State. And according to the updated list uploaded on the INEC website yesterday, the names of Silva's running mate, Joshua Masiva, was also removed. Now, the updated list, which also included the candidates for the Imo election, had the column for the names of AP's candidate and his running mate left blank with court order remarks on it. The updated list was signed by the Secretary to the Commission, Rose Oriara Anthony. And don't forget that the Federal High Court, Abuja, on October 10th, disqualified Silva for participating in the November 11th Bayelsa State governorship election. And Justice Donatus Okoro in the judgment ruled that Silva, having been sworn in twice and ruled for 5 years as governor of Bayelsa State, would breach the 1919 Constitution as amended if allowed to contest again. He would have inadvertently spent more than 8 years in office as governor of the state. So if he wins the 2023 election, so on that ground, his name was removed. Also, for Imo, INEC included the names of Uchechukwu Ishodu, a governorship candidate, and Ahombe Chiazo as the running mate for the People's Redemption Party, that's the PRP. And also explaining the need for the amendment list, Ariana Anthony said after the commission published the final list of candidates for the 2023 Bayelsa State governorship election on June 9, in accordance with the provision of Section 32 of the Electoral Act 2022 and the timetable and schedule of activities for the election, it was served with an order of court in respect of nomination of candidates of APC for Bayelsa governorship election. Now, on why INEC also had to include the PRP and its candidates on the amended list for the Imo governorship election, Oriana Anthony said the decision of the electoral body was based on a court order. Meanwhile, INEC's chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has said the off-cycle governorship elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State are actually critical. So the chairman said the commission will continue to engage with all stakeholders, including civil society organizations, that's CSOs, to ensure peaceful and credible polls. So he spoke at the meeting with CSOs ahead of the elections, also disclosed that INEC has accredited about 145 organizations, deploying 7,896 observers. He also assured the CSOs that the commission would intercede with the security agencies to grant them unimpeded access. The chairman, Yakubu, said that the commission will soon make public its report on 2023 general elections. Well, if the commission has actually called for, concern and saying that the election in Imo and Kogi is actually critical, it simply means that all eyes should be on those states. Of course, before we start laying blame after elections, if something pops up, of course, if they raise an issue like that, the security agencies, the government as well, have to put their eyes down to ensure that every concern is being cleared, and of course, every issue is being also cleared in order to make sure that we have a free, fair, and credible poll this time. This is a second chance for INEC to show Nigerians that they can actually gain trust back from Nigerians once again. Well, away from that, next report we'll be looking at is from the Senate. Well, they have justified the planned purchase of luxury vehicles for lawmakers in spite of dissenting voices in the last few days. Now, briefing journalists yesterday in Abuja, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Services, Sunday Karimi, said that the leadership of the two chambers, both the National Assembly, decided to buy luxury cars for lawmakers because of durability and not just that, maintenance as well, for a period of 4 years. And he said that Nigerians were picking on lawmakers but ignoring ministers. Interesting. I think it's opening our ears and eyes the more. Well, according to him, some ministers, he says, have more than 3 Land Cruisers, Prados, and other vehicles, and questions are not asked. We are here to ask the questions today. Well, this comes days after public outcry trailed the disclosure that members of the House of Representatives were set to take delivery of sport utility vehicles valued at 160 whooping million naira each. Well, last Friday, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project had asked a federal high court in Lagos to stop the lawmakers from taking delivery of the SUVs pending the hearing and determination of the applications for injunction filed by the organization. The group's application for interim and interlocutory injunction followed reports that members of the House of Representatives are set to procure and take delivery of SUVs valued at 57.6 billion naira. And according to reports, each of the SUVs would cost about 160 million naira. Now, I'd like to put at the end, just like you would to the bank and then you say you need maybe 3.2 million naira, you have to add only. So I would love to say 160 million naira only, not just only, in the middle of a very harsh economic situation and, the impact of fuel subsidy felt on Nigerians. I mean, you can't even step out of your house again if you have just 1,000 naira to, because that alone cannot take you back home. So you need double of that to go out and come back in a day or even more, depending on where you're going to. But the shortest distance, I must tell you, that is, you need double 1,000 naira. Of course, you know what that means. Well, also, the Senate is considering a bill seeking to ban the Central Bank of Nigerian governors, CBN, and deputy governors from participating in politics while in service. According to reports, the bill was passed a second reading on Wednesday today. It was sponsored by Senators Sunday Karimi and Darlington Wokocha. While it passed into law, if passed into law, actually, the bill will amend Section 9 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, which currently only prohibits the CBN governor and deputies holding any other paid office besides their position at the CBN. The bill also proposes the Auditor General of the Federation, the Chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS), and Chartered Institute of Bankers in Nigeria (CIBN) be represented on the board of the CBN as well. Well, Senator Adams Oshimole opposed the bill, arguing that the case of Godwin Emefiele, the immediate past CBN governor who purchased a presidential nomination form, was a consequence of the absence of governors and the bill to enforce the extant laws. Well, the Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau therefore gave the Senate Committee on Banking and Finance 2 weeks to report back on the CBN Amendment Bill. Now, don't forget that in May 2022, Emefiele purchased a presidential nomination form for the All Progressives Congress APC, and this was highly criticized by Nigerians, with many calling for Emefiele's resignation or sack by then President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, despite the outcry, Emefiele actually maintained his position, if you could remember, as the CBN governor from office and prosecuted in court by the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And of course, until then, we're still yet to see the end of the case, from one issue to the other. Well, if this actually could come to pass, we should be looking at not having some issues in Nigeria again, especially if you want to compare the issue of the, cash swap policy, redesign policy at the election time that looked politically motivated. And of course, till today, we haven't really, we can't account for the number of or the amount of money that Nigeria used or the CBN used in redesigning a new currency that is not still in circulation till today. If you doubt me, prove to me that you have, out of 20,000, had 15,000 new notes, even from the bank. And then, of course, I'll be here to say, oh, I'm sorry and apologize for that. Okay, so these are issues we'll be discussing, but majorly we'll be looking at the issue of cost of governance amid very harsh economic situation and impact felt by Nigerians. And of course, we're seeing that the Senate has justified their reasons for wanting to procure SUVs and even telling Nigerians to go ahead and ask ministers who even have up to 3. Other issues would look at majorly today on the program. So Dave, stay tuned. The phone numbers will be displayed on the TV screen. We'll go on a short break and come right back. We'll be here with our guests and we'll talk better on the show. So do stay tuned. We're coming right back.
Every day marks a day of significance.
That in view of the apology that by this former minister who had earlier been cleared by this August Assembly,
as we face critical issues, developments and events will shape our social and political landscape here in Nigeria and beyond. Political Spectrum is a program specially designed to help make sense of all the moving parts of developments and occurrences in our nation's polity and political economy.
There is nothing wrong with Nigeria, but there's everything wrong.
The educational history of public figures holds significance beyond mere biographical details.
From executive, legislative, and judicial developments at national and subnational levels to international diplomacy and relations.
Join us for exclusive interviews with key political figures, expert opinions, analysts, thought-provoking conversations for and against, shedding light on the major issues that matter. We will always keep you updated on the most factual, smartest, and unbiased reportage.
Stay tuned to Political Spectrum. Political Spectrum. All sides matter at the round table. Political Spectrum. Exclusive to
back to the show. It's still the program, The Love of People and Governance, here on Spectrum Television. And if you're just joining us, then you haven't missed so much, because we are about to get into the details of today's discussion. And majorly, we will be looking at cost of governance in the President Tinubu's administration. And of course, every system of government requires leaders and officials who will occupy public office and actually direct the affairs of the state as well, whether it is a dictatorship or a democracy. Now, there is a cost involved in running public affairs, and Nigeria has a critical challenge of the high cost of governance. But today, we will actually look at reviewing the trajectory so far in a new dispensation that started on May 29, 2023, and ends recommendations on the way forward. So today will also be ending on recommendations. Now, a proper understanding of the challenge of cost of governance will reveal a number of dimensions which we can actually get some recommendations. The first is the cost of running the administration as a proportion of the overall public expenditure. So what is the percentage vis-a-vis the overall public expenditure? It is also about the relativity of the salaries, emolument, and allowances of key government officials compared to other workers and employees of public sector. And the second is the contribution in terms of the productivity of officials in an administration, or what the cost of governance contributes to the economy. So the gross domestic product and overall welfare of the people as well. So this activity definitely includes the ability of governance institution to raise funds to finance government effectiveness in terms of raising or realizing the goals of high-level laws, plans, and policies. For occupying a public position and being paid so much, this dimension questions the deliverables of public officers as against their remuneration. So what are public officials bringing to the table as their contribution? That's what we will be looking at. Well, let's start from that point right now. So we're being joined today by a social, political, and public affairs analyst in the person of Dr. Charles Odogo, all the way from Ebonyi State. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Before we get to the cost of governance, it's just a little bit away from here, though still in line. The Senate has moved to, sign a law that stops the CBN governor and its deputies from participating in politics. Now, also having in mind that 2022, during purchase of presidential forms, we also had the then CBN governor that has been suspended, Godwin Emefiele, purchase a presidential form. And of course, despite the public outcry, for him to stand down or cease to become CBN governor, it never changed anything. It was still the CBN governor until this current administration, where President Bola Tinubu actually suspended him and he was arraigned. So if this bill stands, what do you think it could achieve, or what is your take on this bill?
Well, I think it's coming at a time that it is actually needed. And the reason is because I feel certain positions in the country are supposed to be dedicated to specific steps, and such positions shouldn't people who will be distracted by politics and all that. And politics is such a way that you cannot do it without trying to, favor your personal interests, political parties' interests, or something. You will not be able to discharge the duties and responsibilities of such the governor of the central bank without bias. You will see yourself, you know, bringing out certain policies that only favors your political party members, not are no longer the country general. So I think it's a good one, and not just the CBN, other very sensitive offices in the country should also be, brought out and ensure that only people who are willing to serve, only people who are dedicated for service get into that office. You cannot go into such offices and still be playing politics with. I look forward to having the motion, passed to become a law, and also to have him followed up to the last.
Okay, I still have just one question to ask before we wrap it up on that issue. Now, sometimes, especially here in Nigeria, some persons that occupy some sensitive offices, like you've said, do not publicly come to declare political interest to actually sit in a certain position or hold a certain office. But we still see them, divert into politics, maybe favoritism, having political affiliations with some politicians. For example, in the just concluded 2023 general elections, there were so many accusing fingers pointing towards the direction of the Independent National Electoral Commission, saying that they have been politicized, and even the judiciary system, to some extent, where it favors one party, where one party, is seen, going against the conduct or the codes or the ethics that has been set, or the laid down rules. Yes, they have the power to disqualify, but do not. So fingers pointed at them that they have been politicized. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's just like I mentioned earlier, that the such offices are not just the central bank of the INEC is one of such. There are so many other sensitive offices like that should be dedicated for people who are willing to serve the country, people who are non-partisan. Like you said, it was in the last general election that the institutions shifting towards one party, institutions that should have been neutral, institutions that should owe their allegiance to Nigerians and the Nigerian people and not any political party. You see them tilting towards one party, expressing brazenly favoritism towards a political party. For instance, we hear that INEC is in court asking the Supreme Court not to accept new evidence from any candidate. Is that supposed to be head of an institution that is responsible for the people? These are the things. Until we accept to tell ourselves the truth and build institutions that would stand for the good of the country, irrespective of who is involved, the country will not move forward. certain things are not supposed to be political. There are areas where you put politics away and defend the country. You put politics away and of the country and the people. So these are the things, and if this would be a step forward, that's of restricting the influence of politics and politicians in certain offices in the country, that would be a good way to. So I encourage them to the bill and find a way to pass it so that it begins to take effect to get.
Okay, now that leads me to cost of governance. Okay, sometimes you've talked about putting responsible persons in key positions to act in favor of any other person, but serve public office. Okay, serve the public. Now, don't you think that is somehow attached to, or certain offices? Let me put it this way. Don't you think that has to do with the gains? I mean, this office is juicy. The gains are juicy. The salary, the allowances, whatever is coming out from this office is juicy. And so you will definitely have something to gain. Now, that takes us to cost of governance right now.
Yeah. Well, if we have strong, some of these biases will be minimized the barest minimum. Yeah, they could be juicy offices, could be more lucrative offices than others. But if we are able to, a matter of law, in such a way that whoever gets that office is not dependent on which political party is in power or which person is in power at that moment, then it makes it everybody, Nigerian, no matter who you are, can get to that office as long as qualified, right? And when you're there, independent in power at that point, your decisions will not be easily influenced because you have laws that protect that even when you take decisions, this person has no power to move you. But it's just unfortunate that we have a government in the country that you see anything is possible. Anything is possible, right?
Okay. Let me just get into cost of governance and, of course, deeply. I mean, I know I didn't ask how you were before the show because I love asking as a Nigerian how you doing, because in Nigeria today, I think it has come to a point where we have report day about people stealing things that it was too common that people never used to steal before. Foodstuffs, food items, taking, I mean, things that you would be wondering, why are people stealing these kind of things? Now, that's because of the harsh economic, I say, the effect of fuel subsidy removal, the effect of some of the policies that have been made for the betterment of Nigeria, but maybe because they're not much being put on ground to cushion that effect. So it is now so hard on the people that certain things are beginning to go wrong. Now, despite all of this, the Senate sometime, it came as rumor, oh, the Senate is about to procure luxury vehicles for lawmakers, and of course, so many dissenting voices, so many arrows, so many knocks came around on them. But briefing journalists yesterday in Abuja, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Services, Sunday Karimi, said that the leadership of the chambers of the National Assembly decided to buy luxury cars for lawmakers because of durability and maintenance for the period of 4 years. And he said that Nigerians were picking on lawmakers but ignoring ministers. Now, amid this hard economic situation, amidst the the NOC and TUC's demands and all of that, we are seeing the Senate procure a car at 130 million or 160 million naira each. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, how I'm doing as a Nigerian, I would just reply that I'm fine. You know, as a greeting and not in the actual meaning, because I'm not fine, and I'm sure it's the same way for so many in Nigeria. I mean, I'm a medical doctor, and in Nigeria, the average medical doctor takes 250,000 a month. And you look at that as at the pre-election period, you understand that it will be about, let's say, $500 or so. But if you look at it today, you realize it's less than $200. And if you divide 200 by 31 days, you bet that you not get up $1 a day, right? So that medical doctors who use average, let me put it out, who used to be seen as medical, are now at poverty line. Now, think about people that used to be below the poverty line for now. Which statistics are at least that a good percentage of Nigerians, as much as 130 million living in poverty. As at 2022. Now imagine the situation of those armors. People barely walk to eat, just to eat. Nobody talks about any other thing again. People actually, and then the leaders appear to be defeated from this reality. They do not understand. They do not really appreciate that something like this happening to people. Because if they do, why would they be thinking of spending such amount on luxury cars? Not just luxury cars, on cars that are not in another country. We are talking about forex, and the people are out to go and purchase the fabric. When in reality, such cars are manufactured in Nigeria, if the right investment, in reality, you should be thinking of things that would benefit the entire people of Nigeria, and not about them. But that brings the question of accountability and sincerity in leadership. You know, a lot of persons will be talking about the senators and the legislatives, because we are talking about 300 or so. But nobody is talking about the executive. PWB said that one way to fight corruption is to ensure that he doesn't steal, that his friends will not steal, and his family and close allies will not steal. That in a situation where something like that is in place, that nobody will have the mind to steal it. But a situation where the president have fleet of jets everywhere. The ministers, the main mention of ministers are driving luxurious bulletproof cars of mind-blowing amount. Now, those legislators will be looking at themselves as, is it just one car that we want?
Of course, that's the question. That's the question they are asking.
Exactly. So they are looking at it that, I'm representing an entire constituency. I just need a car to be able to start my duty. They will not see anything because they are even more expensive ones. But in the news some time ago, they but with a figure of how many dollars and all of that. Not to talk of presidency, the president and those allies. So you realize on the part of our leaders is so much, and you can correct it from the legislators. It has to start from the city. If there was any effort at all by the executive to cut down governance, to be more prudent in our resources, the senators and the rep members will be thinking of voting for such acts with this economic relief. But you see that is why we are talking about Nigeria, and that is why we are looking forward to Nigeria, a Nigeria where the leaders will be responsible to people, the leaders will be accountable to the people, the leaders will demand from the people, because when they demand people, you realize that you owe your stay in that office to the people. But when you enter through the window, nobody cares. You know how you found your way there. You know you can still do it, and you don't care what the people. You don't care about what the people think. These things will only when the system have been in such a way that you can really immerse into the executive office through the votes of the people. If you get there, you take responsibility and ready to listen and serve the people according to their need. But in this case, it's not so. You don't expect that a stream that has been soiled from the head will get somewhere in it and become clean. It's not possible. It has from the head. Expect the senators and the actors that they to come and go left. You won't be surprised at the government men are using and all of that. So that's by influence. As long as you do not see anyone to relate at the head to do something right, you continue to do it anyhow. So no matter the outcry of people, they will still go ahead to purchase this car. They will still go ahead to purchase this car because beyond what they gave as reason for durability and all that, should there be anything like that road? Shouldn't our roads be as good as other roads in the world? Why do you have to buy a special muscle car to be able to ply Nigerian roads? I'm thinking about the common people who are not able to afford such cars. How are they surviving? So these are the key issues. You know, I wouldn't be cutting cost governance at the legislature only. If they must be cutting down cost of governance, to start from the head, from the person who is the center of it.
Okay, Dr. Charles, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, the problem is not actually, getting cars for the senators, because, I mean, it is normal for them to be equipped with facilities to actually, run the office very well, so they wouldn't have an excuse, oh, if we were given cars, we would have, gone for oversight functions, we would have done this, we would have done that. The question is this the proper time to dole out this kind of money on each of the senators? I mean, 160 million naira for each person, when we have other things on ground. Is this the time? And should we even need a car? Do we need this kind of cars to actually run these things? Let's even ask another question. What happens to the cars? Because when initially asked, they said these cars belong to, the office. It belongs to the senators. So these cars actually remain when they're out of office. It's property of the government. So it simply means that another administration that is coming in would definitely make use of it. So my question right now is, or the questions other Nigerians are asking is, what happens to the vehicles that maybe for the same purpose or for the same reason the past administration, ordered or had, using the same excuses? What happened to them? Is this the right time? Benchmarked against private sector employees, and the remuneration of top public officers be justified?
Fine. In perspective and in perspective, we can be in such ways. We can say, oh, this is not such for me. We can be saying, oh, what happened to the previous one that were bought 4 years ago? And, I mean, some of the sales are ready, which means they are the old, even the other ones that could not return left with their old. We could be asking questions like that. But in their perspective, they believe the car is to last just 4 years, and it vanished into thin. It's the same thing that happened in the budget of the presidency, the budget of the villa, where they come back every 4 include things like cutleries, furniture, this and that, worth billions of naira into the budget. And you can think them as another, the ones that were bought in the cost did this move into the sea? Or would it be that they all have expiring date of 4 years? So the perspective is different between the ordinary Nigerian and those who have gotten into the state of life. That is the challenge. They do not see things the way ordinary Nigerian sees it. To them, it's nothing. It's it's their entitlement. I'm telling you this from experience. The senator is newly elected. He's telling you that he will not fight her for me. The one who is returning senator will be telling, I need a new administration. After all, the president and the ministers are, but that is, they do not feel the pain in Nigeria. And calling all of them up. I'm calling all of them out because it's not about words and coming up to protest at a given time. It's about internalizing things. There can be a law that, as a senator does not, or as a public servant, that the government to buy a car for you. Even if there are cars attached to different offices, it's not on you to go with the car when you leave the office. The same way you leave office, you could leave the other thing. And then some of these extravagant expenses wouldn't be happening if people hail for doing it. Well, they don't will be 1 billion. And it's just somebody that was appointed somewhere. And when you go to court, he comes with plea bargain and all of that. And then you collect. So when you get into such office, you want to do what? You want to do what? Because that has become the standard, that has become a norm. And you hear some people tell you, oh, more, and so it be, this is not people come in with things and like the particular of the national cake, and if that person shares, if they get the opportunity. So it's an issue of value, it's an issue of moral, an issue of good governance. We have a lot. We have to do. We have a lot to do.
Doctor, let's even go
Yeah.
back to questioning the number of ministers, 48 in number, as you know, sent to the Senate by the president for approval. And according to the 1999 institution as amended, or constitution as amended, it simply says that, you know, ministers are supposed to be drawn from each state of the federation, and when you add the federal capital territory Abuja, it makes it 37. We should have a maximum of 37 ministers, but we have 48. In addition to this ministerial list, the president has appointed special advisors and assistants who are of ministerial grade. Now, all these appointees will earn hefty salaries, allowances, codes, more of that are beyond the earnings of ordinary skilled and educated Nigerian workers. So the frightening part of the earnings of political office holders is that they draw allowance beyond what is constitutionally approved by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission. Their actual earnings are shrouded in secrecy. So this should even form the basis of our worry, or if we want to do things right, I think we should start from the root, and it starts from here.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we're having some disconnecting issues, but we'll try to disconnect. We have just a few minutes to wrap it up. Okay, so let's see if we can take a call or two. The phone number is displayed on your TV screen. You can send us a WhatsApp or a text message. But while we're still talking about the cost of governance, and of course, you know that the Senate has come out to justify the reason why they should all acquire a 160 million naira SUV, of course, to last them for 4 years. Welcome back, Doctor. Let's just get your last words before we wrap it up on the show.
Okay, well, I was just trying to say that those are the fundamental problems. You realize that in Nigeria, the people who are actually doing the work at the end of the day don't get to a living. Why those who are not doing anything are moving around with bogus allowance, bogus pays, and all of that. And then you wonder why everybody wants to go into politics. It's because of these things, where somebody can just be appointed minister today and he automatically start earning 20 times more than the biggest civil servant in that ministry. It's not supposed to be so. And that is why you're wondering why youths, nobody wants to work. Because they know that if you work for 60 years, that your entire salary for 60 years can be in the one day through politics. That is fundamental problem the country is facing. And until we think in that light, until we think in the direction of reversing such mindset, of reversing such system, the country will continue to go down. Right? We have to consciously make laws that will favor those that are willing to work for the country, those that are actually working for the country. All these bogus appointments you see everywhere is because the intention is not governance. The intention is to settle political alliance.
Doctor, let me just ask one question, because we have a minute to wrap it up. Now, what is your recommendation going forward?
Okay, my recommendation going forward is that we should tell ourselves the truth as a nation. We should come out plain about ourselves and begin to do the interests of the country, starting from building strong institutions that are independent of politics and are focused at doing the best for the country. Everything shouldn't be about politics. The people should be put first. The interest of the people should be put first. The money should be spent on the people and not just that by whatever is found their way into power. And when we start doing that, we can know that in 10 years, in 20 find ourselves in this place. We can become, we can see that our government can get to this point. So that is the message.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Charles Odogu.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the people. We've been discussing on cost of governance, and of course, Nigeria is a very beautiful place, and we all need all hands on deck to make sure that everything actually works for good. Well, when we talk about high cost of governance, I think it's high time that we put our leaders in check and make sure that things work normal. Well, we can only hope that it turns out good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for staying glued till the end. It's been a program, The Law of the People and Governance, here on Spectrum Television. And this is where we close the curtains for today. We'll catch you again on the program tomorrow. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. You can also follow me on X at RECHWHYTE, Rich White, all is one word. My name is Rachel David White. Good evening.